This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good day, everyone. I guess we can get started. I see there's still people joining, but we might as well get started and present. All right, so thank you, everyone, for joining today for our August chapter of the monthly Cybersecure Canada webinar series. And today's topic is Establish Basic Perimeter Defenses. My name is Brendan Dumpy. I'm the Director of Trust and Compliance with CyberNB, and I'll be your host today. For any new participants joining today, I do a brief overview of Cybersecure Canada and present on the control topic and the requirements of certification. Then I introduce our industry guest speaker, who today is Arturo Torres of Fortinet, and he'll be presenting on perimeter defenses and the benefits of these controls. This webinar will be recorded, and participants can ask questions via the chat box. At the end of the presentation, we will do a Q&A portion, time permitting, of course. Any questions that are not addressed can be asked via email to info@cybernb.ca. I will also do a draw at the end of the presentation for a $50 Visa gift card for one of the lucky attendants, just for attending today, could win $50. All right, so let's jump in. So the focus of CyberNB's Trust and Compliance program is to help organizations of all sizes operate safely in the digital economy. Canadian businesses must ensure their systems, operational processes, and data are secure. This is especially true for small and medium-sized organizations, which often lack the resources that larger organizations have to continually monitor threats. So with CyberNB, we can help you with cybersecurity certification if you are looking to achieve that for compliance with the supply chain, or if you just want to demonstrate to your customers that you have best practices in place. And we can also help you with things like privacy certification or program implementation, and even transparency of your products if you are a vendor in critical infrastructure. So what is Cybersecure Canada? Well, it's technically still classified as a voluntary cybersecurity certification that was developed by the federal government of Canada. However, there are currently RFPs that have come out this year that require Cybersecure Canada certification for contract winners and their downstream suppliers. So it's likely going to become a requirement of business doing business with the federal government of Canada. It was designed with the following goals in mind: to improve Canadian small and medium organizations' cybersecurity baseline, to raise awareness and educate all Canadians about cybersecurity, and increase consumer confidence in the digital economy of Canada. It's based on 13 control areas found on, you can see them listed on the screen here. They range everywhere from provide employee awareness training, enable security software, and of course our topic today, establish basic perimeter defenses. For more detail on each control, please visit our website, cybernb.ca/trust compliance, and select the Learn More button under Cybersecure. So to get started, on that same website, Trust and Compliance, you can select the Get Started button under Cybersecure Canada, and that will take you to our secure online portal. From here, you can register your organization and process the Cybersecure Canada certification requirements all in one spot. Our portal is powered by Microsoft Azure and utilizes their robust security functionalities as well as multi-factor authentication. So again, to register, you just click that button on the right of the screen, and best of yet, the access to the portal is free by entering the discount code CSC2021, so Cybersecure Canada 2021, in the discount code box when registering. The portal fee will be required upon certification review, and our portal provides guidance on Cybersecure Canada certification and enables you to ensure all requirements and supporting evidence is in place before your submission review. So to enter the discount code, this is an example on your screen, you would just enter CSC2021 in the discount code box, just click outside the box and this will change from 350 to 0, and then just select Pay Now and register. So once you're in, you will be presented with a series of statements. And we refer to them as statements due to by selecting the implemented radio button, you're stating that this statement is true, that for baseline control 1.3, organizations shall consider purchasing cybersecurity insurance policy that includes coverage for incident response and recovery activities, or provide the rationale for not purchasing one. And then below is where you provide your required evidence. So for this statement, it's asking for you to provide your organization's cybersecurity insurance policy certificate or the rationale for not purchasing insurance. So in this example, the cyber insurance policy is attached, and it does state that the insurance policy certificate is attached. You'll notice that the Submit for Certification button is grayed out. You will not be able to submit for certification until you've completed all 51 statements for Cybersecure Canada certification. And once you've completed, you'll be able to select that button. It'll notify us, and we'll contact you to select which of the 4 accredited certification bodies that you would like to come into the portal and review your submission and either ask for more clarification or award you certification for a 2-year period. So for this control topic, establish basic perimeter defenses, this is the following guidance from the federal government. Networks connected to the internet require protection from online threats through the use of firewalls. A firewall is a software or hardware device that monitors the flows of traffic and can defend an internal network from outside intrusions. Organizations should implement dedicated firewalls at the boundaries between corporate networks and the internet. Organizations should install and configure domain name system, DNS, firewall solutions to prevent connections to known malicious website domains. Organizations should also consider using a DNS firewall solution for content filtering to limit the websites accessible from the corporate network. Organizations should also use secure connectivity to all their online corporate IT resources. If an organization permits employees to connect remotely into its networks from the internet, they should set up a virtual private network, or VPN, gateway, and require the users access the organization network via the VPN using 2-factor authentication. Additionally, a firewall must exist between the VPN termination point and the internal network. Organizations operating an internal Wi-Fi network should use, at minimum, WPA2 wireless security protocol or better. When possible, organizations should use the strongest variant, for example, WPA2 Enterprise, as it offers stronger individual user authentication. Organizations should consult their product documentation for how to configure these protocols. Furthermore, organizations should isolate the Wi-Fi network via a firewall that filters wireless traffic entering the rest of the network. And organizations should follow the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, so PCI DSS, if there are point-of-sale system terminals or financial systems. Organizations should segment point-of-sale terminals and financial systems, isolating them from the rest of the network. And of course, organizations should filter spam or email with malicious attachments or links. To reduce the risk of fraudulent or deceptive email, organizations should ensure that their email service implements domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance, so that's a DMARC. And for established basic perimeter defenses, there are 8 controls under this topic. So they range from baseline control 9.1 up to baseline control 9.8. So the best way to show what's actually required is just to go through the statement, so I'll do that now. So for baseline control 9.1, the statement is asking that organizations have dedicated firewalls at the boundaries between the corporate network and the internet, and the organization isolate internet-facing servers from the rest of the corporate network. So by clicking the implemented button, you're stating that that is true. And for evidence for this statement, they're asking, the certification body would be asking to provide proof that the organization has a dedicated firewall at the boundaries between the corporate network and isolate internet-facing servers from the rest of the corporate network, and then a list of all application service ports that must be open for internet to the internet, along with the rationale behind leaving them open. For baseline control 9.2, the statement is organizations shall implement a DNS firewall, so domain name service firewall, for outbound DNS requests to the internet. And for this required evidence, detail your organization's implementation of the DNS firewall. So basically provide evidence that you have implemented it. For baseline control 9.3, organizations shall require secure connectivity to all corporate IT resources and require VPN connectivity with two-factor authentication for all remote access. So for required evidence, it would just be detailing how your organization requires secure connectivity to corporate IT resources and VPN connectivity with two-factor authentication if you do use remote access to your corporate network. For baseline control 9.4, organizations shall only use secure Wi-Fi, preferably WPA2 enterprise. WPA2 is acceptable for this control, but they are recommending that all organizations use the highest strength, if you will, of Wi-Fi connectivity protocols. And for this required evidence, it would just be details of the secure Wi-Fi technology used. Baseline control 9.5, organizations shall never connect public Wi-Fi networks to the corporate network. For example, if you are working from a hotel or a coffee shop, you should never connect into your corporate network from that network unless you are using a virtual private network two-factor authentication. So the required evidence for this would be to detail how the organization basically blocks access to the public network, or sorry, the private network from Wi-Fi networks such as coffee shops and hotels. All right, so baseline control 9.6. So this is asking about how you isolate point of sale systems from the internet and other areas of the corporate network with a firewall, and how you consider payment card industry standards, so PCS DSS. So this is actually a perfect example of using the not applicable radio button when processing certification. So when the certification body is reviewing these submissions, when you put applicable, you would also have to indicate why this control doesn't apply to you. So if you were to, for example, with the firewall statement, if you were to put not applicable, we don't have a firewall, obviously that wouldn't be acceptable for certification. You would have to have reasonable explanation as to why it's not applicable to you. But this statement does have, is a great example of not applicable. So if you do not have point of sale systems within your organization, and a lot of organizations do not, you could just simply put not applicable and put no point of sale systems. If you do have point of sale systems, then the required evidence for this statement would be the detail of how you isolate your point of sale systems from the internet and other areas of the corporate network, and how you follow the payment card industry standard PCI DSS. And baseline control 9.7, organizations shall ensure they implement a domain-based message authentication reporting and conformance DMARC on all of their organization's email servers. And for required evidence for this, it would be just a list of the domain names used, and also the confirmation that DMARC has been enabled for each of the services, including the DNS text record and the SPF, DKIM, and the DMARC. And last but not least, for these statements, baseline control 9.8, organizations shall implement email filtering at points of ingress and egress. So for this statement, what you'd be required to provide in order to comply would be the organization's policy for email filtering, including supporting procedures, schemes employed, reporting mechanisms, and what have you. So once you've completed all of these statements, like I said earlier, you'd be contacted to select one of the 4 Standards Council of Canada accredited certification bodies under this program. And they are Bulletproof Solutions, Cybersecure Canada, SourceTech IT, or WATSEC Cyber Risk Management. These organizations are all across the country, and they can support you from anywhere, as this certification is remote only. There is no on-site portion of this certification. So you can select any of those certification bodies and they'd be able to help you with the certification. If you do need help at any time along the way, we do have a list of trusted partners that can support you with the whole process. They can help you with guidance on implementation, provide you support, consultations, or even handle the entire thing for you and complete the statements and submit on your behalf. Of course, you can use any managed service provider you would like. These are just trusted managed service providers that we know understand the framework and would be able to support you. Save on cyber insurance. So getting certified can save you on cyber insurance, and it can also help you be eligible for cyber insurance. We've noticed that cyber insurance companies all around the globe have really started to be more particular about their underwriting and be more scrutiny, a lot more scrutiny in it. And a lot of organizations are having a harder time even being eligible for cybersecurity insurance. The best way to become eligible and to maintain eligibility would be to demonstrate third-party audit of your systems and practices via cybersecurity certification, for example. This way, the insurer can see you as de-risked for policy, and with Hub International, you actually would receive a 10% discount off of cybersecurity standard rates, or sorry, cyber insurance standard rates when you achieve Cybersecure Canada certification. We do have a bit more information on this if you'd like to look into it on our website, cybernb.ca/trust compliance. And coming soon, e-learning modules. So the federal government of Canada is currently developing e-learning modules to support Cybersecure Canada. I am told they should be out late fall, I believe. So I'm pretty excited about that. These will be designed to help organizations understand the requirements of Cybersecure Canada and how to implement these controls easily. And the best part is they're going to be offered free to the general public. So anyone will be able to access them if they're looking for a little bit more guidance on controller implementation. All right, so with that, now I'm going to introduce our industry guest speaker. We have Arturo Torres from Fortinet. He is the security strategist with Fortinet. Arturo joined Fortinet back in 2016 as SE for MSSPs. He's in the northern region of Mexico and has held different positions in other technology companies such as SOC specialist with Alestra, in addition to currently serving as coordinator for cybersecurity master's degree at Autonomous University of New Orleans. He has a master's degree in administration, business and industrial relations, and currently pursuing a PhD in engineering and information technology at the same university. He has posted on technology forums and given conferences for the education sector, the business sector, and the security industry events such as OWASP Latin, Alestra Fest, and Eco Party, and even EAI. So with that, I will now stop sharing, and I will make Arturo a presenter. All right, Arturo, you should be able to share your screen now. Perfect, I can see it. Take it away.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brendan. I appreciate the kind introduction. Thank you for having me. Okay, so let's start. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you all for being here. As Brendan said, my name is Arturo Torres, and I'm very excited to the opportunity to talk about how we can establish perimeter cyber defenses in our organization. So this will be a non-technical talk. It's more like a strategic talk. So we are going to talk about the highlights and benefits to define or have a perimeter defense strategy across the organization. So let's start with the basics, right? Let's define what a cyber threat is. A cyber threat can be defined as a possible hazard that can be used to exploit an existing vulnerability with the only intention of causing any damage to an entire system, network, or even an entire organization. Now, all of us by now must know that every kind of threat can come from internal or external sources to our organization. That means that any vulnerability does not necessarily have to be exposed on the internet to be exploited by a threat actor. This is why this type of cyber threat has become very relevant to the organizations and the economies around the world. Because think about it, we are using technology every day in our daily basis to, I don't know, maybe complete our daily task, or maybe complete our daily task or professional task or something like that. In fact, the World Economic Forum published at the beginning of the year the Global Risk Report, which are the most relevant risks for the organizations, industries, and even economies. And they measure all the risk by the probability of the occurrence and their level of impact of the society. So we can see that failures in cybersecurity strategies, as well as failures in critical infrastructures, are one of the risks with the greatest impact in this report. And this is very important because all the organizations around the world care about this. And let me show you more examples of how the cyber threats are become so dangerous for the society. So we already know that every cyber threat or any cyber threats are constantly evolving in order to take advantage of online behaviors and trends. The COVID-19 outbreak is not an exception this time. According to Interpol, cyber criminals are attacking the computer networks and the systems of individuals, business, and even global organizations at the time when cyber defenses might be lowered due to the shift of focus to the health crisis. So prolific and opportunistic criminals are taking advantage of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic to launch different types of cyber attacks that are constantly evolving. According to Interpol, some of the latest threats identified by them include new malicious domains and phishing campaigns, malware distribution, like spyware or Trojans, have been found embedded in interactive coronavirus maps in websites, and maybe some emails with malicious content are also tricking users to download malicious content. And later I will show you an example of that. Also, ransomware is it's an example of maybe hospitals, medical centers, and public institutions are being targeted by cyber criminals by ransomware attacks. So let me show you an example of a phishing campaign that has malicious domains and malicious attachments. Our team, or FortiGuard Lab team, discovers a new COVID coronavirus Temespear phishing email that uses the World Health Organization trademark in an attempt to convince recipients of this authenticity. This email contains the subject line, coronavirus decides important communication. Also includes an attachment entitled COVID-19 World Health Organization that appears to contain additional information, but this is only a decoy, right? This attachment is malicious. Once a user download this attachment and execute on their devices, the malware becomes to be real, becomes to execute in their devices and start to gather information or be persistent in their system. By the other hand, there's another malware or ransomware distribution that we are detecting that claims to have a real-time coronavirus outbreak tracker available via an application on mobile devices. And that is called Coronavirus Tracker. This is on Android Store, or was in Android Store. COVID-Lock used techniques to deny the victim access to their phone by forcing a change in the password used to unlock the phone. This is also known as a screen lock attack, as this is a different campaign of ransomware target the mobile devices. So we need to remember that ransomware campaigns or ransomware threats can enter their system through emails containing infected links or attachments, using compromised employee credentials, or exploiting non-vulnerability exposed in the system. But with all this information, what is the impact of all these cyber threats? Well, cybersecurity vendor researchers forecast that the total damage of the cybercrime will globally could exceed $6 trillion by this year. Also, the ransomware campaigns, or the ransomware cybercrime, will reach $20 billion by this year, and more than 90% of these threats is still delivered by email using techniques such phishing or social engineering, when the attacker tried to trick users into opening files or accessing malicious content. Also, IoT devices become the preferred vector for cybercrime in the past years. This is a very important information because we are measuring all the impact of the cyber threats by the damages or the cost by money, right? And this is because the data and the information of the companies are become the fuel for the digital economy, and this is in any sector of the industry at any global level. This is why cybersecurity strategies are so important, since various studies, as well the Forbes magazine, have defined cybersecurity as a business enabler. So we already know that the cyber threat actors can exploit networks and devices that are connected or exposed to the internet, right? So the question is how we can protect our information, how we can protect our organization of all of those threats. So any organization can mitigate cyber threats through awareness and, of course, by following best practices. And we have right now perimeter security, right? That means that any control that are recommended to be implemented at the first be on the perimeter. But what is perimeter? We can define perimeter as the border between two network or security zones, maybe untrusted or trusted, when the untrusted zone will be mostly the internet and the trusted zone will be our organization, right? So, and what is the purpose of the perimeter security? So the purpose is to protect against any threat that intend to enter to the corporate network or the trust zone. So if we use perimeter defenses, our organizations can create safer networks and keep sensitive information safe, right? But what are some examples of basic perimeter defenses? So we are going to talk about firewall solutions, DNS protections, secure browsing and connection solutions, Wi-Fi security, and of course, secure email security. All of these controls are related to the controls and recommendations from Cybersecure Canada. So let's begin. Let's start with firewalls, right? So as Brendan says before, firewall is a security barrier placed between two networks that controls the amount and kinds of traffic that might pass between the two security or networks, right? This solution protects local system resources from being accessed from the outside by unauthorized servers, devices, or even users. So we know that a firewall is a device that monitors network traffic and can defend it from external intrusions, isolating servers that connect the internet or internal services or servers, and this will help to prevent any attack from jumping to any access to the entire network or critical assets, right? And this is why Cybersecure Canada recommends in one of their controls that every organizations should have a dedicated firewall at the boundaries between the corporate network and the internet. So every organization should isolate internet-facing servers from the rest of the corporate network. This is one of the most important perimeter defenses that we need to deploy in our organization, right? Isolate and use firewalls to control what kind of traffic can access to our assets or to critical, I don't know, maybe public services on the internet, like or websites or something like that. Of course, on Fortinet, we have our proper solution, right? Our next generation firewall that is called FortiGate. And this is one of the most important solutions across the industry, because our firewall solution, or next generation firewall solution, or FortiGate, is become one of the most recommended solution in the industry. The FortiGate solution has a lot of security controls like antivirus, like intrusion prevention control systems, anti-botnet systems, and even VPN controls that I will talk more later about this. Okay, so let's talk about DNS protection. Why DNS is important, right? As we already know, standard DNS queries, which are required for almost web traffic, create opportunities for DNS exploit, such as maybe DNS hijacking, right? So here's an example. These attacks can redirect a website inbound traffic to a fake copy of the website, and the attacker wants to collect sensitive information and exposing business to a major liability, right? One of the best known to protect against DNS threats is implement or deploy DNS firewalls. So what is a DNS firewall, right? This is maybe probably one of the questions here. So a DNS firewall is a tool that can provide a number of security and performance services for DNS servers. So a DNS firewall sits between a user recursive resolver and the authoritative name server of the website or service that anyone try to reach, right? So the firewall can provide rate limiting services to shut down the attackers trying to overwhelm the server using maybe, I don't know, denial of service attack or something like that. So if the servers does experience downtime as the result of an attack or for any other reason, the DNS firewalls can keep the operator site or the service up by using DNS response from the cache. So, and this is the control that Cybersecure Canada mentioned before. Every organization should implement a DNS firewalls for outbound DNS requests to the internet, right? So at this, like the firewall protection, we have our solution, or FortiGate has this protection included, and this included in the firewall, next generation firewall or firewall FortiGate solution. So you can use them in the same solution too. Okay, so let's talk about secure browsing and connection. If we're using a VPN that allows to access corporate resource from anywhere, however, in the event of the credential were compromised for any reason, a threat actor or a hacker could enter the organization network without a problem, right? So this is why the second authentication factor is implemented. This is the best recommendation that we can have, even in this remote work that we are living now, because this helps you to, if anyone wants to connect to the VPN, they need to have another security factor, right? In addition of the password. So here's an example: Google Authenticator, which is an application that you install in your mobile device, in your cell phone, and you can link to any of your accounts, so that after entering the password, you have to enter the token provided by Google, right? So it should be noted that these tokens are valid only for maybe 1 minute or maybe some seconds, and they are constantly changing. So this is because why organizations should require to secure connectivity to all corporate IT resources and require VPN connectivity and use two-factor authentication for all remote access to access to the corporate networks, right? So we add another control here. So there's you have a VPN connection and you use your user or password, but if your credentials are compromised, the hacker or the threat actor needs your token, and if they don't have maybe your mobile device, your cell phone, they could not have access, right, to the corporate network or the VPN. And of course, we in Fortinet have our FortiClient VPN solution. This can be downloaded from the website forticlient.com. And of course, we have a digital FortiToken solution that is called FortiToken, right? So you can download it for free and you can use it with your VPN client, Fortinet VPN client. All these two solutions are for free. You can download it and you can use it in your corporate network. And of course, if you have Fortinet solution, you can track all the connections and all the traffic that pass across the firewall, right? Okay, so let's talk about the secure Wi-Fi. As Brendan mentioned before, if any organization has an internal Wi-Fi network, it should be use a secure protocol, right? Such as WPA2, preferably in the variant WPA2 Enterprise. And additionally, every organization must isolate the Wi-Fi network through a firewall that filters wireless network traffic entering to the rest of the network. So this is something that we are talking before when we talk about firewalls, right? We need to isolate the networks. We need to define what kind of users of traffic are in any one of the networks. And we create maybe separate networks to isolate traffic, assets, or even users. Or maybe if you have guest users, or maybe you have a guest Wi-Fi network, that must be isolate or separate from the corporate network, right? So the two controls or best practices that we have right now is that every organization should use a secure Wi-Fi protocol. WPA2 Enterprise is the recommended, so this is the one that we should use right now. If any organization offers public Wi-Fi services for the visitors and guests, as I told you before, the organization should never connect this public network to the organization internal network or resources. Because think about it, if we have a public printer over there, or maybe an audiovisual system, IoT system over there, and that system or device get compromised by an attacker, they can scan all your network, or maybe go to another network if that network is not properly secure or isolated. So this is very important, right? And the other one is that every organization employee, of course, should never connect to a public Wi-Fi networks. So if you see a public Wi-Fi network, you need to use a VPN connection, or maybe you need to have an antivirus or something like that, because Wi-Fi networks are exposed to various risks or threats, like man-in-the-middle attacks or sniffing attacks, when the threat actor or the hacker or attacker can intercept all your traffic, and if your traffic is not encrypted, they can stole or see your credentials, your user passwords, and all the messages and all the stuff that you are doing if you are connected to a public network, right? Also, there's a lot of malware distribution, because remember, if you are connected to any kind of network, and in this example, if in a public Wi-Fi network, you are connected with other devices, and if an attacker is in the same network that you are, they can scan your device looking for vulnerabilities and maybe exploit them. And if they can exploit the vulnerabilities, they can, I don't know, maybe distribute some malware or install some malware in your device, and they can have access to the device and maybe send instruction and all that stuff, right? So we need to remember that preferably we should never connect to a public Wi-Fi. And if we have a public Wi-Fi in our organization, that public Wi-Fi must be isolated or separate from the corporate network, right? Okay, let's talk about secure email. So we have some controls over there. So I want to focus on the 9.1. And this is because we already know, right? And the beginning of the presentation and talk about it. Email is a critical tool for every business communication and productivity. And we already know that email is also a popular attack vector in the last years. So the threat actors or cyber criminals try to send you emails to maybe steal your credentials or install some malware or something like that. Obtain sensitive data or hold it using a ransomware threat or campaign, right? So as attackers are evolving and more sophisticated using some different campaigns like phishing, botnet campaigns, ransomware against their targets, email security must provide multi-layered protection. So the best way to stop receiving spam, I think, is using email filters, right? So we can filter what kind of traffic or emails are coming to our organization and to your user inbox, right? So there are several using filtering techniques like whitelist that you can allow. You can define what kind of traffic you will allow in your anti-spam solution. There's also blacklist that is the opposite, right? You will define what's the domains that you will block. Every email that comes from maybe this domain that we already know that is a malicious domain, or that is maybe a domain like, I don't know, maybe it's not an organizational domain like Gmail or Google or Hotmail. Well, this is maybe not important for the organization, so they will block that, right? There also exists a gray list antivirus solution. So if any email contains any malicious attachment, or I don't know, maybe an document that has any infected file on it, you can scan all the document and define if that document is malicious or is not malicious. Also, there's something called content analysis. So they can the anti-spam or the anti-spam solution can start to analyze the content of the email, and they can see what kind of links or URLs are on it, and they can analyze if the URLs are some phishing techniques, or maybe it's a malicious domains over there, right? And of course, every spam or almost every anti-spam solution has a basic reputation engine. So they already constantly learn what are the domains or the email users that are categorized like malicious domains or something like that, right? So for that reason, every organization should implement or deploy an email filtering solution to filter and inspect what kind of traffic or email are coming to ingress or egress to the organization, right? So here are the summary of the controls that we are talking today related to firewall solution. Why it's important to have a DNS solution in organization. The VPN connection with a two-factor authentication is very important for us. Of course, Wi-Fi, we need to connect only to secure Wi-Fi networks. And if we are not on a secure network, we should use a VPN connection, right? Because that means that our traffic will be encrypted. So any attacker, if they intercept our traffic, they are not able to see what's happened over there because the traffic is encrypted, right? And of course, I think one of the most important solution is the firewall, because the firewall has the advantage that you can use it in the perimeter of the internet, or maybe you can use it like as an internal firewall solution. So you can isolate or separate different networks or assets, and you can put it maybe some detection capabilities like IPS, intrusion detection system, antivirus. So if any user wants to maybe go to another network for another resource to visit a website or something like that, first the firewall will validate if the user has allowed to go there, and after they will analyze or inspect all the traffic or all the things that we are doing, right? That we are doing. So I want to share with you this cyber safety checklist. This is published by the Interpol. I think this is a great way to have recommendations and prevention tips, because we already know, right? With the increasing number of cyber attacks and cyber threats, it's very important to have a cyber safety checklist. So Interpol shared with us information like keep your information safe with backup, which means that you need to back up all your important files and store them independently from your system, maybe in the cloud or maybe on an external device, right? Always verify if you have if you are on, or if you have an antivirus, and if that antivirus is updated. So this is very important too, right? And of course, be vigilant. Talk to your family, including your children, about how to stay safe online, right? Of course, you need to be aware. Do not click on links or open attachment in emails which you were not expecting to receive, or maybe if the email comes from of an unknown user or of an unknown sender, if there's an attachment there or there's a suspicious links, it's recommended that you don't click that link, because there's a lot of infection, there's a lot of techniques right now, so it's recommended to be aware of that, right? As always, right? If you believe that you are a victim of a crime, alert your local police or try to go with a cybersecurity specialist. This is very important because, as we already know, there's a lot of cyber threats out there with a lot of techniques, a lot of new advanced threats. Okay, so I think this is all the things that I want to show you right now in this talk. So I don't know if there's some questions.
Thanks, Arturo. Great presentation. Yeah, so is there any questions for Arturo or myself? All right, crickets. All right, that's okay. All right, so for the $50 gift card, we do have a winner. I will announce that. I'll just say the first initial and last name. So we have Jay Kane is our winner for August, and we look forward to having everyone join us again next month and have another winner for the $50 gift card. Thank you for attending, and and thank you, Arturo, for the presentation. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.